Hello and welcome everyone to Python Foundation course. In this session, we'll be talking about functions. So first of all, I want to make sure that all of you understand whatever we have covered till now in this course is sufficient to get started with coding. And when I say coding, competitive coding. Okay. And whatever we'll be covering after this is all part of advanced kind of topics. Function is also kind of an advanced topic, and the reason why I'm saying that is because function is something which is basic to Python or any other programming language, but this will not stop you with get starting with coding. Okay, so that's the reason I'm saying whatever we cover after this is kind of intermediate in terms of Python. Okay, so I would highly recommend all of you to get started with coding if you haven't started yet. Either CodeChef, CodeForces, whichever platform you prefer, or HackerRank, LeetCode, you can get started with that. But if you want any specific recommendation which platform you should get started with, then I would like to understand more about you, and then I'll be able to recommend. But without that, you can at least get started with some of the coding stuff. Okay, let me open few of the websites for those of you who are not aware. Okay, so they are, let me write them in the chat. I think that will be better. So you can get started with CodeChef, CodeForces. Mostly I would say if you're just getting started, then get started with CodeChef long challenges, because that will help you build your concepts and you'll be involved in coding for a longer period of time if you start with CodeChef. Okay, because it has long challenges, so specifically long challenges which go for 10 days, 12 days, those kind of challenges. Then you have HackerRank. If you are somebody who is just getting started and are not willing to code, and they want to force themselves to code and they are very hesitant to get started with coding, then you can get started with HackerRank. It will help you build your confidence, because it has comparatively easy questions, plus it has very topic specific questions. So if you want to practice topic specific questions, then you can get started with HackerRank, and then you can move to any of the competitive programming platforms. Then you have LeetCode. LeetCode is more or less for target when you're targeting organizations for internships or for full-time jobs, then you can get started with LeetCode. But not only that, if you're practicing, if you think you have reached a sufficiently well or I should say a good level in coding, then you can get started with LeetCode at that time. But HackerRank is the place where you can get started with if you just want to, you are a person who has to force himself to get started with coding. Otherwise, CodeChef long challenge is the place you should start with. Okay, so these are few of the websites where you can get started with. There are others as well, HackerEarth and Spoj and a couple of others, but these are the ones you can get started with. Let me write HackerEarth also. HackerEarth and Spoj. Okay, any of those you can use, get started with. Now that being said, we also have a program called Partha program, where we charge very nominal fees and we help people to get started with coding and help them improve in coding. Not only, and when I say coding, not only competitive coding, we help them with building projects, we help them with machine learning and other stuff. So basically it's like a coaching or tuition type of a concept, where every month you pay a very nominal fee of I don't know what it is, it's 500 or 1000, I don't exactly remember, that depends upon which month or which batch you are joining. But very nominal fees, how you pay for your tuitions, right? Maths tuition or computer or English tuition, Hindi tuitions. And throughout the year you'll be helped with the computer related concepts. And when I say computer related concepts, I mean computer science related concepts. So there'll be databases, there'll be data structure, there'll be competitive coding, and there'll be machine learning, and we constantly help you with competitive programming as well. And our aim will be to make sure that you become a good coder on India level. And why do we think that we can do that? Because me and Abhilashar, we both have represented at ACM ICPC, and we got 37th rank nationally in India. Okay, so I think we can help you with over there. Enough of promotion. let's get started with the functions. Okay. But yeah, in case if anybody is interested in that or knowing more about that particular program, then you guys can message me or Abhilash sir. Okay, and you can message me on WhatsApp. Okay, so either you can message Vyom Agrawal or you can message Abhilash Rudra. Okay, so do let us know if you're interested, and let me share my team's contact detail. Okay, so if you're interested, do let us know. Now that being said, let's get started with functions. So what is a function? Function is a block where you can write a code which could be reused. And the reason we create these kind of blocks is because the code looks very organized and you get reusability. Two things. Plus, you get modularity in terms of your application, and it becomes highly readable for your reviewer, code reviewer, the person who's reviewing your code. And the reason why I say that is because whenever you write code in industry, you always have a code reviewer. Mostly exceptions are startups. So in startups you don't have that culture where you will somebody reviews your code most of the times. But in established startup you will get that code reviewer. And why the code reviewer is important? Because they just want to make sure that the code that you are committing for a particular software is really organized, bug free, and there are less commits or uncommits that keep happening over a period of time on that particular piece of code. Okay, so that's the reason you have code reviewers. And functions are very important because most of the time when you work in industry, people will initially, as a junior developer, we will be asked to write code for a particular business logic. Let's say I was asked to write a code for joining the ends of a contour, and a contour is a circular kind of a thing or a square kind of a thing, depending upon what kind of machine learning problem you're solving. So what was happening is, let's say this box that you see right around functions, this could be a contour, and there was a break from our machine learning algorithm, like this point and this point, there won't be a line between these 2 points. So I was asked to write a function or a code which can help join these 2 lines. Now I won't get into the specific how I did that and what this problem was, but I'm just giving an example. And that's the place I was asked to write a function, very first function that I wrote in industry. Okay, so and everybody will ask you to write functions only because functions help you to organize your code. Now I can give that function to any developer, and those developers can put that code into a end-to-end pipeline where the code is executing or where the product entire solution is running. So that's how functions are very important. And what we need to understand about functions is how to write functions, how to pass data to a function, and how to retrieve the final output from a function. That's it. Because what is a function? Function is nothing but a block of code. So now once you have that block of code, now what you need to pass some parameters to that block of code, because your block of lines or block of code would require some input, and it would also spit an output. So you need to understand how to write these block of code inside a function, or basically how to define a function, how to send or or access these inputs inside this block of code, and how to return the output. And fourth very important thing, how to call these functions. Okay, so we'll discuss that in a minute. Now let's if you have understood functions, let's read these theoretical information. Function is a block of organized reusable code that is used to perform a single related action. Functions provide better modularity, as I said, and a high degree of code reusing. So why do they say code reusing? Because once you have written your function and you want to execute that particular functionality, then you can just call that function by passing some parameters which will be used inside it, and you will get an output. Like adding 2 numbers, you wrote a function for adding 2 numbers, then you don't have to every time write a function. You just send an input to your function, you will get an output. In case you're not able to understand this right now, don't worry. Once we get into the practical sessions, you'll be able to understand that. I see a question. Sir, can you create a function by def. Yes, definitely. Can we create a function by def function? Yeah, the def keyword. So the way we create functions in Python is using a def keyword, and I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so Python gives us many built-in functions. Now, what does that mean? As I was saying, as a developer, I wrote certain functions. Similarly, what is Python? Is a programming language. It has a lot of things that are pre-built, pre-written, which comes as part of its package. Similarly, you have some functions which are pre-written, inbuilt in Python, which are automatically available to you. So those functions are, few of those functions are print function, then you have input function. So you remember print function is used to print something, input function is used to take input. So these two functions are one of the many inbuilt functions that you get with Python by default. Similarly, you can write your own functions as well. Okay, but you can also create your own functions. These functions are called user-defined functions. Next, if you want to understand functions, this is how your function is. If you want to compare it with the example of car and seat. So these seat or seats can be considered as a function. So you want to make a 4-seater car. So what you will do is, this is your entire software program. At first, driver seat, and then at the second seat over here, and then 2 seats at the back. You can place the same 2 seats over these 4 places. This becomes a 4-seater car. Now you want to create a 2-seater car, you just place 2 seats. That becomes a 2-seater car. And what do you mean by 2 seats and 3 seats? These are the function calls. At these many places you want to call your function, and this is your entire software. So throughout your software, wherever you want to call a function, you can call that function. And this is like a built-in function. This is like a function which has already been created. Now wherever you want to call it, you just call it and start using it. Similarly, how you have to tie nut bolts wherever you want to put this seat, right? You'll have to tie nut bolts. So those nut bolts can be considered as like input and output. Okay, that's how you can relate functions. Clear? Now, this is how you define a function. As I was saying, you'll have to write some lines of code in a form of a block. Now, how do you define a block? You have a responsibility of telling Python interpreter that I want to define a function block. So how will Python get to know that you are trying to define a function block? Using def keyword. So wherever Python will see def keyword, it will understand that you are trying to define a function. Okay, so this is your def keyword, which will help Python understand you're trying to define a function. Then this is your name, function name. As I said, you'll have to call a function, right? So how will you call? If, let's say, if you want to call somebody, then that thing or that person should have a name, right? Similarly, if you want to call a function, it should have a name. So this is your user defined name. Celsius to Fahrenheit is my function that I'm defining here. And then these temperature. What is this temperature? This is like my input. Whatever I want to give an input to these, to my function, to my lines of code, I can put it over here by separating them by commas. Over here, I just have a one input, and they are also called parameters or argument. Parameters, argument, input. These names are used interchangeably for input parameters or arguments or input values for a function. Now, why do we give this input? Because I want to reuse this function. I'll just change these parameters, I'll change their value and pass whatever value I want to pass, and it will return the final output to me depending upon what input values I've passed. So my function is Celsius to Fahrenheit. So you see, this is a one capability that you want to give in your software. Let's say you are creating a software for an IoT device. Okay, and you want to give, and your IoT device has a button which expects your code to return a temperature in Fahrenheit and Celsius as well. So you might have to write this kind of a function. So depending upon the temperature inputs, you'll have certain formula which will keep converting your temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. And this is the formula in this case. So whatever temperature you give as an input will get converted. And this is the final return statement. So using the return statement, you'll send the output back to the caller. So wherever this function was called from, that particular place will get whatever you pass from here return. So this value will be returned. Okay, you can have one variable here and you can store that variable and then return that variable. That is also possible. This is just to, you know, save some space. So if you see over here, this is the syntax: def, name of the function, pass some parameters, write your business logic, write your code, and then you have your return statement. So whatever you write here will be given back to the caller. Clear? Now, function invocation. How do you invoke a function? Just give the function name, pass the parameters, like whatever value you want to pass here, you have to tell that, right? Whatever value you want to pass, just pass here, and you just wait for output. Now, that being said, let's do one thing. Let's directly dive into the practical sessions and understand how this exactly works. Otherwise, we lose track. Okay. So give me a second. Let me see. Okay. Yes. This is good. Okay. Give me a second, guys. Let me drink some water. Thank you. Thank you. So this is my function def. This is how I tell Python I'm going to define my function. Then print me is the function name. And then these are my parameter. Again, this is a variable, and value into this variable will be passed wherever I want to call it. So how do I call this function? Print me and pass whatever value you want to pass. Okay, and this is my function definition. I just defined function somewhere away from my actual code. So now what this function will do? This will print whatever you pass in here. Simple function. Whatever you pass in here will get printed. And you see, I'm returning nothing because I actually don't want to return something. I just want to print. So this is suffice. This is enough. I don't want to return something. That's fine. That's why I'm not storing something over here, because this function is not actually this function is actually returning nothing. Okay. So as simple as that. Now, if I run it, you see again second call to the same function. So I'm writing again second call to the same function, and then you again see a line over here. That is, this prints a passed string into this function. Now, where is this coming from? This is coming from line number 14. Now, what is this? This is my function name dot underscore underscore doc underscore. So whenever you write this, that means your function's attribute. This is your function's attribute. And what does this attribute mean? This means whatever statement you write here will get printed over here. Now, don't get confused. You remember magic operator or magic function, dir function? What were we doing? When we were working with data types, I showed you this function, right? Dir function. You just write the class name over here and it will tell everything about that particular class. So similarly, if you write a function name here, it will tell so many things to you. So use any of these, you'll get different values out of it. So I used underscore underscore doc along with my function name, and I got this statement. So similarly, you can try out all these values if you want. Okay, here is doc. Okay, that's it. Now let's see a few more examples with respect to functions, just to make sure that we understand it correctly. And if you have any questions, keep asking me, stop me there and there and there. Don't focus on this pass by reference, pass by value. We'll come to it in a minute, but I just want to show you. Okay, this is another function of mine. I pass certain values to it. This is my list. I want to append more values to my list. I just append it. I print over here. I'm not returning anything. My wish. I don't want to return. I'm not returning. I just print my values over here. Okay, and this is how I create my list. And here I call my list. And here I'm printing my list. Okay. So simple, right? This is very simple. This is how you call it. This is how you define it. Whatever input you want to give, you write here. Whatever values you want to consume, you consume here. And then at the end, if you want to return something to be used by your code, then you return that. Otherwise, you just print here and you're good. Okay. Clear? Any questions on this? If not, we'll move to pass by reference and pass by value. We'll understand how to pass inputs. So I'm passing an input to this function, right? So there are multiple ways in which we can pass. But before getting into that, there are two system level thing that we'll have to understand. How do we pass values? Do we pass values by reference or do we pass value by value? Any questions till this point, guys? Anybody? Or shall we move ahead with parameter passing? Yes or no, guys? Please respond. That will help me understand how this is going. Am I audible first of all? Yes, no, yes, yes, I am good. So any questions till now? Because if you have questions, then you should ask. If you don't have questions, then that's fine. Good. Yeah, I see a couple of no questions, no questions. That helps me understand that everybody's understanding. Good, good guys. Very good. Perfect. You know, a couple of times what happens is I keep missing stuff. Okay, if you don't ask me questions, can you repeat that extending method? Good, good, good. Definitely. I'll repeat that. Once I start talking about pass by reference and pass by value, now I'll talk about that extend function in detail. Anything else? No? Okay, perfect. So now, how do you pass inputs to your function? So there are two ways in which different programming languages pass parameters to your functions. Either you pass parameters to your function by pass by value or pass by reference. Now, what does this mean? This is more on the memory level. So let me open whiteboard to help you understand what does this mean. So this is my memory, okay? And when I want to pass values by reference, then what happens is, let's say this is my memory location, which is called A, not like this, which is called A, has a value of 4 and it has some certain address, big address. Okay, and there is another value B, value 2, address. This is my memory. Okay, now while I'm passing the values to my function, this DEF function, if I'm passing it by reference, okay, by reference, then what happens? Wherever I'm calling this function, let's say this is my caller, call is my function and this is my function, and I want to pass something here. If I write A here, okay, and whatever I write here, let's say I wrote C over here or whatever, but if my passing of parameter is by reference, then C will also point to the same location. C will also point to the same point. This is reference. And this is passed by value. So in this case, what happens? When you do the same thing, DEF, you have call, you call it D. And here is your caller. From here you're calling. And here you call it B. Now when you call this, a duplicate copy is created of same data, exactly same data, but a duplicate copy. Our address will be also different, but a duplicate copy. So now in this case, what happens? You see, in case of pass by value, you got two values got created, one for B, one for D. So whatever changes you make here will only be here. You have to send this value back to B to make sure that this value get assigned to B. And this is pass by value. Okay, a copy is made of your initial value, but this doesn't happen in Python. Python, only this happens. Pass by reference. This happens in C, C++. If you remember, in C, you have to write this operator when you're sending your variables. That means you're passing by reference. If you don't send, everything is passed by value by default in C, C++. But in case of Python, everything is passed by reference by default. This is how your data will be passed. Whatever you pass here, if you even change the variable name or if you keep the same variable name, doesn't matter, because same location will get changed. Now, by that, what I mean, let's say inside this code, you change the value of C to 5. Okay, let's say like this, A plus 1, not A plus 1, sorry guys, basically C plus 1. then this value will get changed. This value will get updated. And when you write or when you print your value over of A over here, it will print 5, not 4. So that is what it means by reference. Clear? Any questions on this? You can have a look at this for a minute, and then I'll show you the exact definition theoretically. Okay, good. Now let's see what it means. Pass by value means you are making a copy in the memory of actual parameters value that is passed in. A copy of content in the actual parameter. Pass by reference, a copy of the address of the actual parameter is stored. Now what does that mean? You're just creating a copy of the address. The actual location remains the same, like this. It seems like it is two different things, but if first glass is completely filled, this one will also be completely filled. If this is empty, then this one will also be empty, because they're actually storing at the same place. But in by value, in pass by value, they could be different because there are completely different copies. They created a complete different memory location now. So if this is empty, that does not mean this will also be empty. This could be filled, empty, half filled, 3/4 filled. It could be different depending upon how you change its value. Clear? Now, if you want to see it by example, let's see it here. So here, what's happening is, this is pass by reference. In Python, everything is pass by reference by default. Now here is my list. I call this function change me. I pass my list here. So 1, 2, 3, 10, 20, 30 will be passed here. Now when I call this function, a call will go here. Okay. After this line, 33, 35, 36, the call will go here. 24, 25, 23, and then this line will get executed. Okay. This should be clear to everybody. 37th will be the last line of this entire code. And these lines will start executing at line number 36. Okay. Now, whatever I had here, I passed in here. If you see, the name has changed. Name has changed, but this is now also pointing to the same location, to this where this 10, 20, and 30 has been stored. So now when I do append, when I add 1, 2, 3, 4 to this value, to this list, at this place, so definitely you will have these 4 values. But what do you think will be printed over here? What do you think will be printed here? The same list will get printed here as well. Why? Because internally this variable and this variable are pointing to the same location. So even if you had my list over here, so my list has now been changed to my list 1. Why? Because my list and my list 1 are pointing to the same memory location. So whatever change you made in here, this inside this function, is also applicable outside the function now, because everything in Python is by reference. Clear to everybody? If anybody has any questions, I'll stop here and help you understand it once again. This is a very important concept, guys, and a lot of interviewers ask questions around pass by reference, pass by value. Okay, and this is different in Python. In other programming languages, you get pass by value, pass by reference both, but in Python, everything is pass by reference. Any questions on this, or are we good to proceed? Sir, can you repeat? Okay, I will. Anyone else? So you understood this concept, right? In memory, this is memory. This is my memory. Here, I only have one block, which is storing a certain value. Let's say 4 or 5, whatever it is, and you're calling it as A. Now, when you are calling this value from here, you're calling this function and passing this value inside a function C, then C will not get another copy in the memory. It will also point to the same location where A is pointed. That's why whatever change you make to C get also applied to A, and that's the reason over here my list actually should be this. But if you see over here, it got changed. It got changed the way my function changed it. because my list 1 and my list both are pointing to the same location. Clear? Is it clear now? Who was asking this? Okay, it's a number 19P81. Clear? What about A0554? Clear? Perfect, perfect. But if this could have been passed by a value, then D would have been different from B. And I'll show you one of that examples as well. Okay, this is clear. Everything in Python is passed by reference. So now I'll show you a little different thing, but don't get confused. Okay, just remember this. This is what it is. This is what will happen every time. But let me show you a contrasting example. This is kind of an exception that I'm gonna show you right now in a minute. Now, what do we have over here? So I have my list 10, 20, 30. When I call this function now, something else will happen. Though the concept of having the same value remains as it is. This my list will have 20, 30 and 20, 10, 20, 30. Okay, remember that. That value will remain same. Nothing changes. Whenever I call this, it get passed in here, it remains same. But something happens in this function which segregates this 10, 20, 30 and my list. Now what is that? Assignment happens over here. If you see, now I'm assigning the value. Now I'm assigning a new value to my list. I'm getting rid of what actually it had. I'm not considering that anymore. I'm assigning a new value to it, completely new value. So in that case, it loses this value and it gets a complete different memory location now. Because of which, now when I call this function, what you'll see is over here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and here if you try to print the list, you just have 10, 20, and 30. Why? Because when I tried to assign it a completely different value without considering this value, it got assigned a new value. It got assigned a new memory location in the memory because I tried to assign some value to it. Okay. So this is important. Don't get confused. Don't think that sir taught us wrong thing. This is not passing by reference. This looks like pass by value. No, this is still pass by reference, but it is getting overridden or it is getting a new memory location because now you are assigning certain values to it, to this function. Because you are assigning values to it, it gets a complete different memory location. It's same like how you define variables, right? So every variable that you define gets a new memory location. Similarly, because you made a new allocation, that's why it's getting a new memory allocation, a new area in the memory. And that's why when you print here, you just get 1, 2, 3, and when you print here, you just get 10, 20, and 30 because now they are delinked. Now they are not pointing to the same variable. Clear? Clear to everybody? Okay. So if you do like this, my list, you're assigning this value, this gets completely assigned to a different value. But at the same time, if I do this, then in that case, at both places, it is same. I'm extending the same list. I'm not assigning new values to it. I'm just extending it. In that case, this value and this value will be same. Why? Because a new memory allocation will not happen. Now both will point to the same location. Any doubts? Anybody? Clear? But if I do this and then try to print different values. Clear everybody? Shall we move ahead? Okay, if no questions, okay, I see a question. Yes, sir. Okay, good, perfect, perfect, guys. let's move ahead. Thank you. Yes. Okay, so you see all parameters argument in Python language are passed by reference. It means you can change what a parameter refers to within the function. The change will also reflect back in the calling function. So now, once we have understood this, once we know that we have passed arguments to our functions, there could be different ways in which we pass this value, or different ways in which we reference these values. Okay, previously you saw we were just passing a and during the caller, and inside the parameter we were referring it either as the same name or either by a different name. But there could be different ways in which you can pass these values, arguments, or call these arguments. So these are required arguments, different type of arguments basically. Keyword arguments, default arguments, and variable length arguments. Basically, these are all inputs only, don't get confused, but there are 4 different ways or 4 different type of this argument. It has 4 different types. It could be a required argument, default argument, variable length argument, or keyword argument. Now let's see what does that mean. So first is your default argument. Example of a default argument. Now before getting into that, let me show you theoretically, otherwise it will get little confusing. So first let's cover required argument. Okay, so what is required? Required arguments are the arguments passed to the function in correct positional order. Now in this case you'll have to properly position your argument and pass. Let's say you have 2 arguments over here, str and str1. Then if you put str1 first and then str, then it'll get incorrectly passed. It won't give you any error, but whatever you write first will get passed to this, whatever you write second will get passed to the second argument. And because you have 2 values here, I'm supposing, okay, actually you just have one. Let's say if you have 2 values here, then your function will require both values. It will say if you don't pass me both values, I'll give you an error. These are called required arguments. Let me show you an example of it. So let's say this is the case. Okay, your both are required arguments. You'll have to send value to them. If you don't send value to them, they'll give an error. They are required. So that's why I have to send 2 values to it. If I just send 1, what will happen? What will happen? It will give me an error. Okay. I think this is giving some error because of something else. Sorry guys, give me a second. Okay, now it is giving the proper error. So it is saying missing one required positional argument. Okay, got it. Now if I pass 25 over here, now don't judge me by my age. So what will happen? Oh, which function is getting called along with this? Give me a second, guys. So now you see this function gets properly called. Plus, if I pass these values oppositely, then what will happen? First value will be passed as my name and second value will be passed as my age. So it gives me an error. Vyom is not defined. Yes, exactly. It's not defined because it's not a variable, it's a string. So you see, name becomes 25 and age becomes Vyom. So this is incorrect, right? So these are required elements, required parameters, required arguments, whatever you call, and you'll have to pass them properly. And these are least used. Whenever you are going for production ready systems, then either you'll have to use keyword or default. Now I'll show you what these two mean. Now what is keyword? With keyword, now you call the variable name directly over here and pass them the value. So str equals to my string. So now this str will be linked to your function definition. So this way you don't have to worry about the order. If you pass this first or pass this second, not a problem, because you have given the variable name over here and it is very clearly mapped to your function definition. Okay, so let me read this out for you. Arguments are related to the function call. When you use keyword arguments in the function call, the entire the caller identifier identifies the arguments by parameter name. This allows you to skip the arguments or pose or place them out of order, because the interpreter is able to use the keyword provided to match the value. So this is little helpful as compared to required. So now what you are doing, you're specifying which input or which argument in the input for your function is having what value. So you're specifying age, same name, same, just remember same name, because this is keyword. So this keyword over here, and it has this value, this keyword has this value. So now if you see, I have given opposite, or these are out of order now, but still now when I try to print this, it will get printed correctly. Name will always be Shiva and age will always be 12, though they are out of order because you have given the keywords over here. So this is keyword. Now next is default. Now what does default do? Default is important a lot of times. Let's say whatever may be the name of the person, you want that person's name to be 35. Okay, then in that case, in the function definition itself, you say age equal to 35. So this way what happens? If somebody is not passing the age, then you won't get an error like you were getting in required, where both were required. If somebody passes only one, then it will say no problem, you pass the name, I'll take another parameter as 35 by default, age I know it will be 35. But if you will pass it, then I'll take whatever you are passing. Okay, clear to everybody? These are default argument, and remember all the default arguments should be placed on the right hand side. If you place your default argument here, then that's incorrect practice. Okay, so what it says, non-default argument follows default argument. What does that mean? Default argument should be on the right hand side. Now if you want to make it default, then just do this, put this argument on the, oh what's happening, put this argument on the right hand side, put age over here, then it will work. Then it won't show any error. Okay, though this became little incorrect, but you see my point, right? And if I want to correct this, I'll pass keywords here properly. Okay, sir, can you try left side argument with quotes? Oh, this one, you mean this? What do you mean left side with quotes? The left one is already having quotes, right one is also having quotes. No sir, in default. Okay, so you mean this. Fine. No, that's still not work. That's just fine. But yeah, good observation. It will still give you that same error of what it says now. Yeah, you see, this it still gives you the same error. It's not because of double quotes. It would have given me another error. Vyom is not a variable. It's but yeah, that error remains the same. That was not because of double quotes, because default argument should be on the right hand side. Clear? Any other question? Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, goody good. Now next is variable length argument. The last one, variable length argument. Give me a second, guys. Okay, so next is variable length argument. And what do you mean by variable length argument is you can store multiple values. You can store multiple values in the same variable. So if you see here, I have this asterisk sign written. What you need is you just have to write asterisk and then the variable name. This signifies this is your variable length argument and it could hold multiple values. So you see here, I'm calling a function called printinfo, and this is my function printinfo over here. Okay. Now what am I doing over here? I'm passing 4 values and you just see 2 variables over here. If I don't have this asterisk, I should be getting an error, right? Oh, but this is a different error. You see, takes 2 positional argument, but 5 are given. It gives me an error. Why? Because it's expecting 2 and 5 are given. But if I make it a variable length argument just by passing asterisk over here, then you won't get that error because it's a variable length argument and it can hold as many values you want. First gets assigned to this, and that should be get assigned positionally, and whatever is left will get assigned to this. So arg2 will have 20, 30, 40 and 50. And how will it hold it? It will hold it in a form of a tuple. You remember tuple was our data type, and I told you this data type is very useful because of its immutable property, because internally it gets used a lot, because Python is very sure nobody can change its value once it's created. This tuple is created, so that's why it is used internally a lot. So you see, all these values will get assigned to arg2. Now how you can access these values? You can run a loop around it. Loop we have already studied in our previous session for I in all these values, and one by one you can print them. Or basically I'm not printing them over here, I'm totaling them. And what I'm doing, whatever I get as a total, I return it along with argument 1 and argument 2. All the values that are returned get stored in total. First value is total. Arg1 is A1, arg2 is A2. This also you have already seen multiple assignments using the same line. Whatever we return from here will get assigned to them one by one, and then it is getting printed. You see 40, 140, 10 and this tuple. So this is what arg2, and this arg2 is coming from here. So is it clear? Any doubts to anybody in variable length argument or in this function? If you have any, please ask. I'll hold here for a minute. I want all of you to understand this, but because by this we'll end our argument related things. We'll talk about lambda function, and that will be it for today. So just have a look. Okay, anyone else? Few people are saying please explain it again. What about others? Okay, I'll explain it again. See, if you put asterisk in your function definitions input, okay, that means this keyword, or sorry, this variable can store multiple values. A lot of values can be stored inside this same value. Okay, now how many values are stored? How do you identify, or how can you access these values? I'm saying you can use a loop just to see what all values have been stored here. So if you print 20, 30, 40, 50, these 4 values were stored. What am I doing? I'm just looping over it. Plus I'm adding all those values and I'm returning over here. along with arg1 and arg2. This is my return statement. You remember whatever I write in return will work as my output. It will get returned. And wherever I'm calling this function over there, if I try to assign these values, it will get assigned. Okay. Total get assigned to total. Arg1 gets assigned to arg1. Arg1 gets assigned to a1. Arg2 gets assigned to a2. You remember, right? We had that. Let me bring that again. We had this, right? You remember? This gets assigned to this gets assigned to this gets assigned to this. Same thing is happening here. Let me reach there. Give me a sec. Not lambda. Same thing is happening here. Whatever I'm returning from here, you can think it's coming over here and gets assigned to these values. And that is what I'm printing here. Simple as it is. And you see arg2 is having the values in this format, tuple format. These all remaining values will get assigned to arg2. All values. Any questions? Still, do you have any question? Or if you want, I can explain it again. Just let me know which specific part you want me to talk about. Clear, guys? Any questions, anybody? If yes, tell me which specific part you want me to talk about. Okay. Shruti, is it clear? Srinivas? Deepthi? Lokesh? Okay, good. So guys, next is lambda function. Lambda function is another good capability of Python. Okay, yes, clear, good. Now, what is lambda function? Lambda function says, I am an anonymous function. If you don't want a name for a function, then you call me. I am lambda function. Now, what does lambda function do for us? And why do we say it as an anonymous function? The reason why we say it as anonymous function is because you don't have to define a name for this function. What you need is, you just need this keyword lambda, define the arguments or inputs. These are my input variables, like this, these two, okay? But I'm not defining any name, not using this def keyword. I'm using lambda keyword. Lambda, give the input parameters, put a colon over here, and this is my return statement. Whatever you want to do, whatever you will do over here will be returned automatically. Like you remember in this function, right? Whatever I'm writing over here is getting returned directly. So same thing we are doing with lambda. Same thing we are doing with lambda. Whatever we write here, you just get one statement. You just get one expression to perform. Whatever arguments you're getting on them, if you want to perform only one expression, then you can use this lambda function, anonymous function, where you don't have to specify the name. You might be thinking, sir, fine, I understand all these things. I understand I can use lambda keyword. This is the place where I write my arguments, and I only get one expression. And whatever I write here, its input will get returned. But how do I call this function? If I cannot call this function, then it is useless. So you can assign it a name dynamically. So you wrote your logic. Now, whatever variable name you define here becomes your function name. You just call this and pass values to it. So the calling remains same. You see, you just give a name, this variable name, and pass it here and pass the values. These all values will be assigned here. And then you will get a sum. Oh, sorry. You see 130, 20, 20, 40, 50. 90 plus 30, 130. Clear? Any questions with lambda function? Simple. I'm not getting into the theoretical part of it. Theory you can read from internet, it's simple, but I just want to understand I want to make sure that you understand the concept. Then return statement, I hope all of you understand how we are returning the values from here. Whatever you write here gets returned and you can store it in a variable and then you can print it. Simple, right? Then last thing here is scope. Okay, so shall I cover this? I think it will go beyond some time. Okay, I'll take just 5 minutes and let me cover scope, and that then we can close this session and you can practice calculator function on your own. And in next class, we can talk about calculator. So let me talk about scope. So all variables will have two scopes, either global or local. Plus, all variables in a program may not be accessible in all the location. This depends upon where they are defined. Are they defined in local scope or in global scope? Correct? Now, what does that mean? How do you define local scope, global scope? So if you see here, this element of mine or this variable of mine is having a global scope. Why global scope? Because this is defined during the main execution or at the main line. This is not defined inside any function. So that's why this is called a global variable. It has its global scope. It will be used throughout this program file. It can be used. But any function that is defined inside a function, or any variable that is defined inside a function will have a local scope. That is locally available. That has only a local life cycle. So arg1, arg2, what are these? These are local variables. They can only be accessed inside this function. If you try to access arg1 over here, will you be able to access it? No. Why? Because it has a local scope. But this function, this name total, this variable total can be accessed over here. Why? Because it has a global scope, right? Now, one very important thing is, sir, you are saying it has a global scope. So if I change its value inside this function, will its value get changed throughout the program? I would say, let's see and try and understand what happens. So I had total over here. I printed total over here, line number 87. It says 0. I'm good, right? Because I haven't called the function yet. At this point of time, I call this function. Total gets changed. Total's value gets changed to 30. I try to print total over here. That's also again 30. Then after this point, I again call total. Then it's again 30. So what do you understand? Because it's a global function and it was accessed here as well, its value got changed. Okay, understood? Any doubt? But if I try to access arg1, will it be accessible? No. Name arg1 is not defined. Why it is not defined? Because it's only available in local scope. Outside of that, it's not available. So that's it with respect to scopes. I hope this was a very small concept and a lot of you already know this, but for the sake of completing this concept, I want all of you to understand this if you don't have a prior knowledge of this. Okay, so variables that are defined inside the body have a local scope, and that are defined outside have a global scope. So simple thing, nothing big. Okay, So I hope this is clear to everybody. Now what you guys can do is you guys can work on calculator program, and I hope all of you will write this and share with me. If you don't get time for sharing, just write it down for your own practice. Calculator program should perform 5 tasks: division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, and modulus. And I'm assuming that you will create separate functions for all the tasks and then create a proper calculator which works as expected. So once you launch a program, it should ask you what operation you want to perform. Depending upon user's input, it should perform a given task. Basically, it should take 2 inputs as operand A and operand B, and on top of those operands, it should perform either addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or modulus, depending upon user's choice. Okay, so just try and write this program on your own. If you are able to write, then you are good to progress with or proceed with coding platforms. Or if you have already started coding, then that's really good. You can start working and keep working on your increasing your level with coding, because that's how you have to start. Okay, so that's it for today. If you have any questions, do let me know.